All right, it's time again for the Spencer Statement, a podcast where my friends and I talk about the Resident Evil series and lore and all that good stuff. I'm Vanessa, aka vanessasketch, and with me as always are my friends Chris, aka Jabberwocky1986.
Hello.
And Castle Rook, aka Paul. Said your names in reverse.
Who the devil are you people?
I don't know.
Don't treat the audience like that, man. We gotta get listeners.
Oh, I thought he was talking to
talk
me.
about you.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a really great episode for you now that enough time has passed where everybody's been able to dig into the remake of Resident Evil 3. So that is going to be our main topic today. We're going to be covering the whole thing, all of it.
Wait, there was a remake of Resident Evil 3?
Oh, god damn it!
Oh, great.
This is going to be a long episode.
I told you we should have coordinated.
Damn it. Okay, but first,
Sorry, not sorry.
First, we are going to cover the news because there's also been some pretty big news for Resident Evil fans. Just recently, they released the Resident Evil Village RE8 opening trailer, and wow, that is a lot.
It's a lot to unpack. Yes.
Werewolves.
Yeah.
Kind of vampy witch women, and
The guy I can only presume is like Anthony Hopkins in Bram Stoker's Dracula. But he's gotten a hold of some just for men.
I mean, everybody keeps saying that they're vampires, but I keep leaning towards witches because of their fabulous hats.
it's the hats. The hats are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I love the hats.
I mean,
I'm just going to go with psychos.
Angry, weird ladies.
right. I mean, to be fair, the main gal in the white dress looks very. It kind of has the sort of feel of like a '70s kind of Carmilla or yeah. Sorry, what am I say? Yeah, Carmilla or Elizabeth Bathory type character. Because there was films like Daughters of Darkness and Baba Yaga and films from that period that often had women characters like that. And she's got the look, is what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, I still leaned towards witches. I just leaned towards it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't see it being another cult.
Yeah.
It is a cult. It's super a cult. It's a cult. It's a cult of like. It's a cult of the fetus.
Yes. All hail Feedy.
Oh yeah, all hail feeding, and I guess Ethan Mia's child is probably important to the cult that loves like maybe it's like leftover Evelyn cult or something.
Yeah.
The D series. It's the loser series fetus cult.
I imagine it's actually the connections, though.
I'm hoping that's kind of where I do hope the connections is where it's going, because that was an interesting idea, because we've never really had like a sort of espionage biowarfare, almost kind of leans towards like a syndicate / organized crime
But we
angle.
did have the
That'd be kind of
organization.
Well, we had that, but we had the family. Hey, you guys, remember the family?
Well, the family was
family?
RE6, but there was the organization Wesker worked for in RE4.
Yeah.
Oh man, I am out of the loop on this.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
I think that got called the organization.
Oh man. Well, now they're back in Pog form. How about that?
Burn them all.
There you go.
This again reminds me, Vanessa, of how you did once mention that you were thinking of doing a drunk history for the Resident Evil franchise.
I'm still thinking about it.
Oh, good.
I'm already drinking.
I need more booze for that, honestly.
I did have one quick thing to say about the Resident Evil 8 / Village trailer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I watched a ton of the. I don't think I've watched all of them, but I've watched most of the trailers that they played during that PlayStation 5 reveal. That trailer for Resident Evil 8 is easily the most dramatically satisfying for me. It's like clearly the best directed. It's the best edited. It has this build up. I mean, I love that they saved it for the end, because it is like. Because there was some,
Got the wham shot.
yeah. I mean, to me, like I watched some of the others, and these are sometimes for franchises I was excited to see come back and stuff to see from. I mean, Demon Souls looks amazing, but I mean, Resident Evil 8 just like dramatically was like, I'm in. Like just the edit, the sound design is good. Just like it's really good. As a filmmaker, I was like, yes, that's the juice. Gimme.
Well, the thing is, any big entry in a franchise should always have a moment in the announcement trailer where you go, oh shit.
Yeah.
with excitement.
It definitely had that.
And yeah, it does. It has that right at the end.
Oh God.
Damn, man.
Yeah. So,
He totally sounds like Carlos, though, right?
I.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. It makes me wonder if that means they may have the same voice director, so that he kind of gives that inflection.
Well, they're probably working on it at the same time, and Capcom probably just wanted
Yeah.
to, like, well, we've already got the guys here. Let's bring them in for this game.
I mean, it leads me to my favorite theory that Chris Redfield is actually Carlos.
Oh wow. Okay. That's
Never saw it coming.
never saw it
That
coming.
kind of beats my
Yeah.
theory that Wesker's back from the dead and has had plastic surgery to look like Chris.
No. It's
I
a Mission
wish- I
Impossible.
wish-
It's one of those Mission Impossible masks.
That's being ridiculous.
Yeah. No. I hope it's true. No, like it's like the virus stuff because like it's like how Carla became Ada.
Oh, okay.
Just like,
Yeah,
Wesker's got a
like that. I
pretty
mean,
face.
there's in universe.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. All right.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, then I also personally hope for the rumors that one of those vampire ladies is actually Natalia/Alex. So then we get like full Wesker.
That would be excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of one of my first thoughts as well, is that Natalia is back. And I mean, like, we kind of worked this out last week just after the announcement. Kind of, if the game is set several years after RE7, kind of puts it around 2022. That would put Natalia around 2021.
Yeah. Thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that'd be enough time for, if Alex really did implant her mind in Natalia, that'd give her enough time to mature.
Right. God, I still need to finish the Revelations 2 DLC. That reminds me. I don't know. I haven't even started it. What am I saying?
Got to do the whole thing.
I gotta do it.
Although now it just means that we're looking at the Resident Evil version of Superior Spider-Man.
Oh my God.
And less than 10 minutes, we have a Marvel reference.
Hey, we
you.
had a movie reference like 2 minutes in, so we're right on track.
Yep.
Yeah. But what about the werewolf?
I like him.
I like
I
him.
think he's good.
I think it's good. It's what I like is it reminds me a little of like even the pose and the and everything reminds me a little bit of Bernie Wrightson's Cycle of the Werewolf art, which I like.
Oh yeah. It does kind of have that edge
Kind of
to
gives
it.
me the feel of like Benicio del Toro's Wolfman.
Yeah,
That too, yeah.
which I need to see. My dad finally watched that and said it was really good, or at least he liked it anyway.
I think I saw
That's a good
that.
film.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, it was it's Joe Johnston, right? I'll look that up later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
But I
so.
think less than 10 minutes in, we've had another movie reference.
We're on track. But
I think one thing I'm kind of hoping for with the werewolf is that if it's one enemy, it's going to be a pursuer type like Mr. X or Nemesis. If it's going to be an enemy we're going to have to fight in several areas, I'm kind of hoping it's going to be the hunter type.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna say I think they're gonna do him as like a hunter type because I think it kind of looked like there was more than one of them in like one the scene where like it looks like the executioner's jumping down.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that shot again. I think
There's
part of me wants to
another
say you're right because I know
There's more than
There's
yeah.
another shot where Ethan's in the farmhouse with the old man.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yes, I was, and that was the
Yeah.
other thing I was thinking
And
too.
the old man points out.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to having more actual like in-game cinematics where you get to see like characters' faces. Honestly, that is kind of the thing that like made me less emotionally attached to Ethan, where it's like I know a lot of people aren't super into Ethan as a character and I like him just fine, but personally, I like people better when I can see their faces. Sometimes. At least for a
I
little
mean,
while.
like, it's one thing for him to be reacting to say Jack bursting in on him, and he's going, "Oh shit!" But I mean, like, if there was a cutscene where he gets knocked down, you pan out to see Ethan's face.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, I really hope at least occasionally we get to see him.
And not his hands.
Right.
Yeah, not. It's like, yes, I know. I love your hands, Ethan. They're very soft. Good for you.
Right.
It actually turns out Resident Evil 8 is the quest for Ethan to find a mirror.
Right. And then that's the reveal. He's a vampire and he has no reflection.
Oh shit! It comes full circle.
Right. By the way, speaking of, did any of you notice that shot where because it was his left hand that gets chopped off, right, and it gets stapled back? There's a shot in the trailer where he's getting like kind of like creeped on by the women, and one of the
Yeah.
women is like sniffing around his hand, and it's like that was an interesting clue.
Almost kisses it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that
They kept saying he was like drinking her, like she was drinking his blood, but I was like, no, I think she's just sniffing
No.
him inappropriately.
He's still got the spores in him. I don't think they'd be able to get rid of them that easily.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, what probably happened is when Evelyn died, the spores became inactive.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think we each have a theory about what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
I have my theory about the prologue, but you guys go ahead if you have other stuff.
yeah, Vanessa, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I think my theory is that Mia is still not actually dead because I shot her with a lot more bullets than Chris Redfield did, and she got up. So
Yeah.
I'm not willing to believe she's dead until I play through the entire game and see it for myself. But I can see how that would freak Ethan the hell out.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Well, then that kind of goes into my theory. But Paul, you go ahead.
Well, my theory is that Chris is feigning being a rogue agent in order to infiltrate this new organization because they realize the danger Mia is in. And I mean, like, they're stated that she's supposed to be pregnant, I think. So
She had the child, I think.
I believe
it's
I
up in
think
the air at the moment.
Yeah.
So
Right.
to keep her safe, they fake her death and put her under witness protection. Something happens that causes Ethan to go after Chris.
Okay. That's these are two good theories. Yeah, so that's good. And this kind of the idea of like infiltration and things like that kind of goes if all three of these in some respects can work. Because my theory is that the scene at the house with Chris and all that is a prologue. In the middle of the night, Mia's mold reactivates, but that could be the cover, obviously. And have a sort of a tutorial level playing as Ethan, and Mia's running around the house, and they essentially just do the ending sequence of Hereditary, where the boy is being chased by mom. And
Spoiler.
I mean,
that movie's been.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
When you get about halfway through that movie, you know something bad's going to go on between the mom and the son through that picture. So I didn't spoil all of it. Anyway, so that's basically your setup. You learn your mechanics, and then Chris breaks in once you feel like you've sort of stopped the encounter or Mia's gone back to normal. And the idea is that, well, they had a tracker on her. They knew that she activated. They sent in a team or were standing by nearby. And it's implied that the folktale is local that she's reading. So that means it might already be in Romania or in quote unquote not Romania, and or Eastern Europe somewhere.
No mania.
No mania. There you go. And so hey, Chris does his thing. She could still be alive, which is completely possible. This could be part of a cover, completely possible. Grabs Ethan and Mia, gets them into the plane. There was that rumor we heard about a plane crash being what gets Ethan and Chris out into this area in the village, in the remote area. Basically set up that, okay, he's going to bring them in and, bring, her for analysis and him for also analysis or, debriefing or interrogation, imprisonment, whatever. Plane crashes and that strands them in the area. And then bang, there goes your narrative.
There you go.
Yeah.
I do want to point out as well that just in case Chris does turn out to be a rogue agent, going back to the math we did, he would actually be approaching 50.
Yeah.
And kind of having to spend half his life fighting against bioorganic weapons and seeing thousands of people being killed probably has done a number on his head. So if he does become the villain, it's easy to see why.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would get it.
Yeah. It's a case of I'm coming around to the idea, not necessarily that I like it, but that I accept it. Like I'm willing to work with this. I'm not gonna. This isn't as bad as the reaction of they're just crazy people in this town in Spain from Resident Evil 4 back when that was announced in, good God, what was that, March 2004, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna be leaving that for another discussion.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to say that like if this is the game where Chris actually dies as opposed to just retiring, then I would really like to have a segment where we actually get to play as him, because I would hate to have like the end of his game be a game he wasn't actually even like involved in except for like cutscenes.
Yeah, you want one last hurrah for him.
Yeah, and I want the characters that know him and care about him to actually have a part in it, because I would like, even more than not being able to play as Chris, I would absolutely hate if they killed him off in Village and we didn't get to see Claire and Jill and Barry.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
like, if,
I would hate that.
if the rumors about Natalia being in the game are true, that would break Barry's heart.
Poor Barry. His own heart would just like shatter into a million pieces.
I mean, like, that guy he might be the most gruff character, but he's also one of the most loving, and he took this girl into his heart and just breaks it.
It's the flakiest crust has the creamiest center.
He's a bear.
He's a big old burr.
He's a big old.
He's Barry Burton.
Yeah, he is. So like that is what I would like, but I would also accept if he just retired.
Gets to live on the farm with Jill.
Let him retire.
Yes, and or as we were joking the other day about them starting a sandwich shop.
I'm still working
there
on
you
that
go.
menu.
They got a ready-made career.
Yeah, we got it. We have got to do that menu.
I'll post it on the Twitter.
Right.
So Resident Evil 8, early 2021.
Yep. And we will get more information about the game, I believe, in August. I think
Fingers crossed for my birthday. Fingers crossed for my birthday.
Yay. All right, so with news done, we are going to be moving on to our main topic, the Resident Evil 3 remake that was released at the beginning of April. So,
Yeah, it took us a little bit.
well, we wanted to really get our hands into it, just move things around, deal with Nemesis.
Also felt a little bit too topical at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people had a lot of really hot takes about RE3, so it felt like it'd be better to, like, get our words in at the end rather than in the middle of it, in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
And I mean, I didn't want to talk about it until after I'd like 100%ed it.
Yeah. It's interesting, actually. It was I think it's the first game I've ever platinumed, to be honest.
I want to say that until Ghost Survivors came out, I had RE2 Remake platinumed.
Wow. Impressive.
Also RE7 until any of the DLC.
Oh,
No.
darn.
Base game. That's all you need to count.
Yes. But yeah, so what's the general consensus of how we feel about this remake here?
I enjoyed it.
Pretty good.
I give it the thumbs up. Yes.
Yeah, like it's enjoyable. It just has a lot more caveats to it than, I guess, 2 in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my feeling as well. It's like I like how someone put it. This might have been Ink Ribbon, I think, on YouTube, said it was that it's more of a reimagining than a remake, and that feels fair. That feels accurate.
I'd say
Yeah.
it kind of feels a bit more like a separate expansion pack for RE2.
Also fair.
And that, that also. Like, in some ways, it does feel like they're trying to remind you of the original, and then they go, yeah, but instead of doing that, we're doing this right now.
Right.
I mean, I suppose where we really should start is just kind of like, what were our biggest disappointments?
Yeah.
Just get that out of the way.
I'm gonna say pacing, I think.
Yeah. It's pacing is a back and forth for me, because I agree the first run in particular, especially when I'm doing a more narrative centric run, the pacing feels odd. There's a sort of start and go. Even the opening. I love the opening sequence in many ways, like especially like, the first run of it is fantastic, but when you start to break down the components of like the nightmare scene and then the initial phone call and then the chase and then Brad and then getting your gun and then getting to the rooftop and then the car and then the subway, it's pretty clunky. It's very
Yeah.
Yeah.
disjointed.
I actually timed it once. It took 10 minutes most
Yeah.
to get from the beginning of the game to a point where you could actually start playing the game yourself.
Yeah, as far as I've heard, speedrunners have been saying, I think like the shortest I've seen is about 9 minutes, and all speedrunners basically have said like
Yeah.
they do not like the opening that way, being done that way.
Yeah, it's a lot in 10 minutes because you're going from nightmare, apartment, being chased by Nemesis, being punched a lot by Nemesis, escaping Nemesis, getting to Brad, following Brad, the bar, trying to get from the bar to the rooftop, and then, okay, yeah, suddenly now you can play. And that is a lot to jam into the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. Also, that one corner where Jill meets Carlos is the busiest goddamn corner in Raccoon City.
It is, yeah.
That is like, isn't that the exact same corner where the crash happens into?
I suspect it is based on the geography of being able to see the police station from that angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the very least, it's at most it's like a block over, because I think you see the front gate, and I think when you start as Leon, or sorry, Leon or Claire, yeah, whatever. Resident Evil 2.
First scenario.
Sorry, thank you. First scenario, thank you. You start, you turn around and you have to go through the alleyway. So you cross a city block to your left of the direction you were heading, and then when you come up that, you're on the right side of the building's front gate, and you can see
Yeah.
the front gate. Yeah, so exactly. The point is though is that city block though, there's lots of activity.
Yeah, I mean, like, between Resident Evil 2 and 3, most of the action takes place in a very small area of the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like what if you're
Oddly smaller than I thought.
right.
Like I legitimately thought that when playing the demo, that area would be, it was like, oh, like a good like hour into the game, so that was like the second major area that you've been to. But no, that's it. That's it.
That's the whole point for the first part of the game.
That is almost the entire point of the game.
Right. It's the
Yeah.
because we were, I remember when it came out we were discussing this, like that's like the first act, and when you're done with that whole circuit loop in the subway station, that's the end of Act 1. So you get to the separation point in Act 2 is when you start as Carlos in the RPD, and that arc concludes when you have you're back to Jill before the lab run.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the hospital feels like another area, but it's still so much smaller and still far more contained, so it still doesn't feel like you got a second hub area.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of it as well is just that you go from the city streets to the power station, back to the streets, to the subway station, to
Sewer.
basically Carlos, the sewer, then Carlos at the RPD, to Jill fighting Nemesis outside the clock tower, the hospital, and then the lab. And as much as I like RE3, it is a short game.
Yeah.
And I kind of prefer that, but it's just so much is jammed in there.
Yeah.
It throws off the pacing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have problems with the length of it in and of itself, because that it's still like an average Resident Evil game. It's just that the pacing and the lack of like one other hub area makes the entire game feel and is perceived as way shorter.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you could use the clock tower as a hub, so say Jill gets out of the subway, she's going to the clock tower, and then fights Nemesis, gets infected. Carlos has to navigate his way through the clock tower to get to the hospital.
Right.
That could have added another half hour and made
Yeah.
the game feel a lot longer.
I mean, I even would have been all right with, like, say, you're coming out of like a storm drain or something near a park that then leads to the clock tower. So you actually reverse the position, like the pacing of that, because I felt like pacing wise, the jump from going from the RPD, which kind of has its not necessarily climactic, but it has a it tries to have a climactic moment where you blow they blow the wall open. You get a rush of like I think it was 8 or 9 zombies. You get one more liquor,
Yeah.
and that's it. And then you jump to Jill, and if you're fast, if you're like going through this pow pow pow, less than 10 minutes is when you get to the boss fight with Nemesis Volume 2. And
Yep.
that's like nothing,
Yeah.
in terms of pacing.
It goes really quick.
Yeah.
But it kind of fits. It fits
I mean,
the
alternately, I was really hoping for like a Tyrell going through the
Yeah.
clock tower to reach the hospital.
But I mean, like it also fits into the theme of the game that you are constantly being chased by this killer. Things are going to be frantic. It's just we're fine with the frantic. Pacing's just the issue, and I think that is the core issue here.
Right. I mean, it's like how one of the things people love to talk about how Mad Max Fury Road is like the greatest action movie of like the last like 30 years, and arguably I would say I would actually agree with that. But the thing that people I think sort of underestimate about that film, because it is really a constant chase once they get on the road, the pacing of it, like how it's really careful. George is super careful with his pacing. That it's just enough of a breather before the next set piece, so that you're always got something going on, but that you're never getting too sick of it. And for game design, I noticed that's a level design. You have to be very careful with like they're trying to do the case of where you're not doing like necessarily the same thing all the time consistently, but there's also the case of where you also have to have, if you're going to have a mechanic or a sequence or an area, you have to have enough time to enjoy it and to savor it. And I feel like this suffers from that issue because the fact that, so like, even just like the sewers being like a couple of rooms or one puzzle a little longer or a little extra, as we're saying, the clock towers, I think obviously for us, we clearly all three of us agree we miss the most. Like just having even something as the size of the sewer segment.
I miss the beginning area the most.
Yeah. So that'd be Uptown, right?
Yeah, I wanted more Raccoon City. I needed one more hub area for Raccoon City. Like as much as I visually like the park and I like the clock tower, I care the most about the city itself.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I understand that because this city has been such a central point for the franchise for so long, but you don't see any parts of it.
It doesn't feel like you do. You see like this fragment. Like basically the downtown shopping area means we just went to the mall. That's all we did. We went to the mall. We went and go to to the couple of garages and some back alleys, Like
you see a couple of square miles of a city that has a population of what? 50, 60,000, or is it 100,000?
I think it's 100,000.
It's 100,000. Yeah, we did the math on the last episode for that. Yeah.
I mean, like the kind of area you explore in the game, that would be the main street here in the nearest city to me.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean,
and it's a just to I guess to add on to what you're saying though, yeah, it's like it doesn't sell the scope of the city because we keep looping back to the same area again and again.
Yeah, I feel like a little disconnected, and I think that actually goes back to the first, like the intro movie, that feels way more separate from the actual game than like any of the other ones. And yeah, like it was really cool at first, but then I was like, yeah, but I'm also at the same time not seeing any of the actual city. I'm not seeing the cops getting their shit wrecked by zombies. I'm not seeing any USBCS getting wrecked by zombies.
Footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing stock footage and Nemesis waking up. And the Nemesis waking up thing is cool, but I wanted like actual visual context in the city, seeing how bad it's getting.
Exactly.
I mean, one of the most iconic images from the original Resident Evil 3 is that scene in the intro where the cops and the SWAT team are pulled up. They've set up a barricade with the cars. And they're shooting at this oncoming horde of zombies and getting overwhelmed.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is like
You don't get that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't mean to like interject. I just again adding on to your thought. It's like it's the unforgettable image.
It's the iconic scene of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As iconic as Nemesis is jumping down off the RPD and killing Brad.
I also still think he should have done that.
Agreed.
Yeah. But if you ask me to think of an image that sums up Resident Evil 3, it's going to be that scene with the cops.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. Yep.
And it's like the thing I think of. And I think pacing wise, I would have preferred the Uptown area to have been an actual slower paced thing building up to the first appearance of Nemesis, which is not to like compare it to the original specifically, but I think in terms of just pacing on its own, it would have been better.
Right.
I think one of my bigger disappointments for the game was the fact that in the first hub area, when you've played through a couple of times, you know exactly where Nemesis is going to pop up. He is a set piece. He is not a wandering character like Mr. X was in 2.
Right.
So, I mean, like-
I think they were. Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that there are points where you could literally throw a grenade, walk up, Nemesis breaks through the wall just as the grenade explodes, and goes into a stunned state. And I mean, like, when you get to that point in the game, it's not a challenge.
The thing I was going to say to that note is the grenades feel very much like a double-edged sword. They remind me a little bit of how they use the rocket launchers in Las Plagas games. I love that they're this problem solver, but at the same time, it's a little... Because I replayed this most of yesterday and a bit of today on standard difficulty with especially when you unlock the coins. It just I guess what it starts to feel like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of even having those boss fights at that point? Why even have those encounters?
Like, when I got the Raiden, which is one of the unlockable weapons, the game just kind of lost any sense of challenge for me because I'm going for headshots left, right, and center. And I'm just getting that satisfying critical hit. Now, granted, I can't use it against a very fast-paced enemy like Nemesis, but by that stage, I've built up such an arsenal of ammo or shotgun rounds or grenade launcher rounds. There's no challenge.
Now, try it on Nightmare Inferno, and you'll have a bit of a different perspective about the writing.
Yeah, no, it's
So I've seen you
or just
play.
everything in general. It's oh god. I mean, I think the thing about Nemesis is because how Mr. X did appear, and I don't think he's just free roaming. Mr. X also has very hard triggers, which once you learn the pacing of the game, you do everything that you need to do before triggering him, so you can minimize the time that he is on your ass.
Right.
Like that is the same, and Nemesis has the same thing. The problem is that if you played the demo, you kind of know what the trigger is going to end up being.
Yeah.
So you know what to do in this area to keep that trigger from happening. But people who want to have more Nemesis, on their ass, don't bother doing any of the unlocking stuff until after the power gets returned from the power station. So then they feel like they're getting like the pursuer thing. But I think the problem is that in order to do what they wanted to do with Nemesis, they had to like give him a lot more powers, and then that made him too tough, so they had to cut back on the time that he was directly on your ass.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
people
he's-
complained about Mr. X.
Oh, yeah.
He's not an enemy, he's a set piece.
Yeah. And
I mean, I always considered him kind of a set piece. I mean, I was never as big of a fan of him mechanically. I was always like really annoyed whenever he would show up in the original. And I mean, to their credit, I feel the same way now. In the remake, I'm like, yeah, I'm still you again. God damn it.
I mean, you're thinking, hey, this guy's an asshole, he's still an asshole, and he's an asshole 25 years ago.
right.
He is, yeah, like he's continued to be the same asshole. I mean, to Remake 3's credit, I feel about it in comparison to its Resident Evil 2 equivalent, like the exact same way. It feels like, I'm like, I like it quite a bit, but also it feels kind of undercooked.
Yeah, I agree with that. It feels as if they wanted to create this interesting challenge and to make the set pieces kind of work and not be this kind of frustrating sense of like, because it becomes old hat. Like I mean, so interjective question before I make this point. How many times have all of us gone through it all the way through? Because I know I've beaten it on every difficulty, and I've done it on assisted and standard at least twice.
I think I've gone through it about 4 or 5 times.
Definitely double digits. I lost track. Last count of hours that they said that I put in total was 75.
Wow, damn.
Wow.
But okay, so I guess what I mean is like is and this is a good interesting point though, is that we're coming from the perspective of having gone through it multiple times, and so we've learned the patterns, and this is a game that actually really encourages that. That's why they allow you to unlock the lockpick and the bolt cutters early in the with the as an unlockable with the the
just
in the
about
store.
the lockpick and the bolt cutter though, it makes the game stupidly easy to complete very quickly.
Exactly. I mean, it's a case of where, I was going from like wondering like, oh my God, how am I going to do this in 2 hours to realizing like, oh, I could do this in like an hour.
An hour and a half.
Yeah. I think my fastest time still is like an hour and 20, but that was on one of the higher difficulties. I haven't done like a stupid fast run on assisted yet, just to see how fast I can do it. But it's like, yeah, I this is where I think the undercooking aspect definitely comes into play, is that, I'm curious how they were on budget, because it feels like they had to be very careful with where they spent it, and that there are situations you wonder, at least I wonder, that say with Nemesis, giving him more toys to play with, giving him more kind of more random behaviors and etc. How much of that was stuff they started to test out and then began to realize, okay, we've implemented this, but we can't really have him do this that often because we don't have the time to test it because we have a deadline.
I don't think that was even the case. I think it was just a situation where the budget was split between the main game and Resistance. So
that's an interesting point. I'm curious because I don't know what I don't know what the split was for the budget for that. As far as I know, the numbers.
But I think like just the sheer amount of after support Resistance is getting though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get the feeling that I think the idea was always more like, here's Resistance. Oh, by the way, we've tacked on Resident Evil 3.
Well, they announced Resistance before Resident Evil 3, so I'm not terribly surprised by
exactly.
that. Yeah, I would be surprised. Yeah.
Like, man, that bums me out.
Yeah.
I mean, to give Capcom their due, they were probably smart enough to realize that people would not want to play a multiplayer online game which had very few characters they recognized or were from the main series.
Right.
And felt that, especially when the announcement was made, so they probably felt, we'll tack it on to Resident Evil 3. Gives us a bit of a connection then, so we can bring characters from that into Resistance.
I'm curious how the timing of those events, because it's one of those, I don't always trust the story I hear about Resident Evil 3's remake's development, about how concurrent or simultaneous or subsequent it was to the Resident Evil 2 remake. And part of that is because my understanding, at least from what I've seen, is most of those discussions have been translated from interviews. And so I don't know to what extent, like there's a little, as in there's articles that will discuss it, but I'm not seeing direct quotes from translators or from the people themselves speaking in English. So it's hard for me to take, everything seriously and say like, oh yeah, it was this or that. So I mean, I'm not discrediting what you're saying, Paul. I agree that there is the room for that.
Yeah.
That I'm
I think
intrigued.
RE3's production probably started around the midpoint for RE2.
That seems fair. Yeah.
Because they've obviously got a lot of the assets in place. Most notably the streets and the RPD. So it's that's a big chunk out of their way. Especially like you don't need a lot of zombie models.
Yeah. They added some new ones, or at the very least they've reskinned a few.
Yeah, but I mean like
They did.
It's not a huge variety, so I mean like when you think about it, the downtown, the sewer, and the subway, the lab, and the hospital. They're probably the biggest
Yeah.
challenges they had to make, and if you had a dedicated team, you could get that done relatively quickly.
Yeah. And especially because the engine's already in place, you're reusing materials, and when it comes to shaders and shader materials and things like that, a lot of that, since so many systems have become node based in that regard, I don't know how the RE engine handles it, but I mean, a lot of it's just changing parameters, and bam, you have a new texture. You know, you might have the same image map or the same color map, and then you just put a new displacement map on top of it, and voila, you have something new.
You've already got like the umbrella lab from RE2. It's not a huge
Exactly.
shift to change it to the lab in RE3.
Well, I mean, they even call it Nest 2, don't they?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can actually see visually that they did not have RE3's like construction site boss fight thing planned out
That's right.
well enough ahead of time, because like when you are replaying 2 and you look down that street, that building is completely
Yeah.
different. It's not under construction. It's not burned down or anything. It is just a completely different building. So like that was all done, and then they decided when they were doing RE3 after to
Yeah,
change
I mean,
that.
like, I don't know if it's, like, kind of realizing they're stuck for time or they were being lazy, but I mean, like, it's evident in there that it is not thought out because it's such an easy section to get through, even on higher difficulties.
Like
mean,
that
you
the,
lit-
the construction site.
Yeah,
Yeah, the construction site's pretty easy.
Oh yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
actually almost a breather section, despite the fact that Nemesis is chasing you with a flamethrower.
Yeah, I never felt in danger of those flames ever catching up
Yeah.
to me or him catching up to me. It always felt like it was so staged. It reminds me of the story of Dead Space, about how there's a really good video that I think it was like Ars Technica or something, has this war stories thing about different war stories from game development tales, and where, like, games nearly sometimes never getting finished because of technical issues. And so they have the director of Dead Space talking about the tentacle that comes and grabs you and drags you out, and how that was an incredibly complicated piece of coding to figure out how to problem solve to get the thing to grab you seamlessly without using a cutscene cut, to make it as a fully seamless
Yeah.
gameplay to cutscene experience. And
It's an interesting video, and I do suggest people should see it because the amount of problems they actually went through for being such a small studio,
oh yeah.
it's really interesting.
Yep. And that's the thing, is to basically, is what the comparison I'm making here is that, yeah, this shows you what happens when you decide to make something so scripted and so much like, okay, we're going to use the camera move to then teleport the player model to where it needs to go. That happens a bunch in that ascent of the tower, that it's like, okay, my connection gets kind of broken down. On replay views, I don't feel that same fiery
Yeah,
intensity.
I mean, like, there have been times I've actually just kind of stood there taking pot shots at Nemesis fuel tank.
Yeah, I've seen you do that. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not even like a case of I'm worried about the flames. It's just this guy's been fucking chasing me for so long. I'm
I
venting
have had
frustration.
enough of this guy. You suck.
Yeah, fuck you, man.
How do you like that, huh? Shoot your fuel tank, you bastard.
You tall asshole. That's right.
If I may, if I may, there was a couple of other, because if we want to clear the air about our disappointments, there was a couple of, like, these seem kind of small, but they're sort of thematic ones for me that I wanted to kind of get off my chest, because this has been bothering me
Okay.
for a while, if I may. Is anyone else frustrated that the samurai edge gets left behind in her apartment?
No.
No, because I've almost been exclusively using it in replays.
That's my point, is that, like, because I know I have to go to the item box to get it. That bothers me. If she runs out of ammo, I'll buy that. If, like, you have I mean, because we have not yet had a Resident Evil game that gave you a gun that was empty, that was dry. I love the idea that she empties that clip into Nemesis, is basically, like, blasted out of her apartment, and she has, and this is her gun. It's this iconic weapon for the Resident Evil franchise. And it just, I don't know, I wasn't a fan of the Glock. It just, it was very disconnecting. And even though it was kind of cool as a way to use that and then add the add-ons to do the whole STI Eagle thing, but
Yeah, but I think
anyway,
with the Samurai Edge, it's kind of it's that cliche in that in the third film or the third game, you always bring the protagonist down to rock bottom. They lose everything. They need to build themselves up again. So I mean, in essence, that's what's happening to Jill. She loses the Samurai Edge.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I guess what it is that thematically or dramatically for me, I like those elements of connection. I guess what I mean is I feel more of a connection, say, with Carlos having his rifle than I do with Jill and the Glock, because it becomes so standard. I guess what I mean is it's like we've gone back to like this very standard default, and so that even when it's customized, you don't get to give it a burst fire, thing. You have to find a completely different weapon with its own customizations for it. Anyway, it's a dumb complaint, but whatever.
But I mean, you have to lose the Samurai Edge because you have to give the zombies a chance.
That's what I mean, though. Ammunition, you can't use it because
No. I mean, you have to give them a chance because if Jill's got the Samurai Edge, she's kicking all their asses.
Numbers. It's always. I mean, zombies are always a numbers game, but anyway, it's a case of I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. I missed it. It matters to me, but the other one that I was also thinking about, we were talking about pacing, and the other thing also I found interesting was how Carlos's last segment, the wave combat in the hospital segment. I've played a lot of the Call of Duty zombie stuff, and I really do enjoy those. I'm not as hardcore as other people are, but it's there have been some good ones that I've really enjoyed. I like wave-based combat. I'm fine with it. I felt like with what Carlos needed a boss fight. He needed a boss that was all of his own to fight. The way, because I was thinking about this today. He gets to fight Nemesis in the original.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he doesn't just get to fight Nemesis. He gets to fight the shirtless, tentacle-ripped version of Nemesis.
The one who
he doesn't have to.
True, but my point is,
most of the time when I'm replaying, I just book it so that Nemesis doesn't reach the door before I do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, totally. But my point is that there is a sense of him confronting this creature, which it felt a little and it's a bit of a disconnect. I mean, admittedly, we do get him firing the rocket launcher at Nemesis, but I mean, think of like the payoff to that setup, where he encounters Nemesis this time in the hospital or just at some other point, especially this upgraded, bigger version of him. And Nemesis is like, is moving. And then when he shoots him, and Carlos empties a clip into him and, hits him somewhere sensitive, some weak spot, some bit of flesh that's been torn open. And Nemesis cocks his head and turns at Carlos and has that, like, almost like that little Michael Myers head tilt, like, oh, hi, I remember you. It's just some sort of connection. I mean, I know that goes against so much of what people say Nemesis needs to be as a character, but just I guess what I mean is I wanted some sort of element of extra drama because it just felt like, oh, it's just a swarm of zombies. I think that set piece is cool. I just feel like
I think that kind of goes back to the production. Like there aren't a lot of bosses in RE3 Remake.
No, it's just Nemesis.
Yeah, so I think like it's just one of those situations where they probably would have loved to have had like a few bosses, but be it budget, crunch time, resources.
Yeah. Yep.
That's where you put your Gravedigger.
Yep. Oh my God, yes.
As a boss fight for Carlos, but alternate to that, you have to give Carlos more weaponry then, because he needs to be just as like well outfitted as Jill for a boss fight like that, because between just his like assault rifle, his handgun, and a couple of grenades, he is not equipped to take on anything more than those hunters.
That's a good point. I mean, like, that's a good point.
It kind of goes back to RE3, the original. Carlos did not have a lot, and they're kind of going with the idea that he shouldn't have a lot now, despite the fact that he is a soldier in a combat zone. Like, I think he should have had, like, a Magnum or even just, like, found, like, another cache point where he could have used the rocket launcher.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, that rocket launcher. Oh, we never see it again.
Yeah.
Just imagine, like, Carlos killing a zombie squirrel.
And Joel's like, so did you bring the rocket launcher, Carlos? And he's like, no, I left it behind. Really?
Kill the zombie squirrel.
So I'm actually going to take a real quick peek because there's his pistol's different, right? It's the damn it, they don't have it in the. I found the list. I found a list, and they don't have it. They don't have his.
It goes pew pew instead of Jill's bang bang.
Right.
Yeah,
My point is that
it's slightly different.
I'm trying to remember if they made it a higher caliber, like a 40 Smith & Wesson instead of a 9mm, but I don't think that even matters because you're just going to
No.
use the. That's right, yeah, because you're still using the 9mm rounds. They said
Yeah,
it was for the burst fire was taken out for accuracy reasons. I think is what it says. There's an item description.
Well, there you go.
Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, because it's a that's right. He uses a Glock 18. She finds a Glock 17. I remember now. Okay. Gun nerd shit. Anyway, but yeah. So anyway, we've been chatting for a lot about like the stuff that disappointed. Like, is there anything else we want to sort of clear our heads of, or do we feel like it's time to actually like?
This is no.
Black
We did say we
costumes.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I think, airing disappointments first and then ending on a positive note, leaves you feeling more upbeat about it.
I mean, like, at the end of the day, we've all enjoyed Resident Evil 3. This is not a podcast to make disparaging comments about it. We are going to talk about the things we liked about it.
No.
Right. Until we get to the movies, that's when
This
we
is-
just start.
This is critiquing.
There are no movies.
There are no movies in Bossing Say.
Okay.
But I mean, I did want to say, lack of costumes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Costumes. It's killing me. It's killing
Yep.
me.
Yep.
And just the janky ass way that you get unlockables.
Like, I don't have a problem with the store, but the fact that, like, Jill only gets RE1 and RE3 classic costumes, and Carlos gets a hideous haircut, and that's it. He doesn't even
That's it.
get an actual costume. He gets nothing. My poor boy.
Look what
I
they've
love
done
him.
to him.
I love him so much, and he gets no handsome costumes for his
Well,
handsomeness.
Carlos goes from poodle on his head to a Shih Tzu.
It's just awful. It is a terrible haircut, and I'm like, oh God, turn it off, turn it off. No, make it go away. Make the bad hair go away.
I'm almost tempted to do a playthrough now and just stream a few. And Carlos
No,
has
you're
that
just-
hair.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I'm just
no.
gonna be sitting there the whole time going, make the bad hair go away. Make it go away. I don't like it. Like,
Although I'm on PC, so I could mod it.
Oh God damn it! You PC people, will you get your alternate costumes while I'm sitting here with my console crying?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be up. It shouldn't be up to modders. We should have at least as many costumes as RE2.
Yeah. RE2 didn't even have that many, all things considered, and that still
Yeah.
is. Yeah. It could
But
have
it's
gone for even
compar-
one more.
Yeah, I mean it's comparable. I wanted something at the equivalent level, and that again feeds into feeling like they didn't have a lot of time and possibly money to put into it. But that's incredibly disappointing because I want more stuff for it because it's like I do like this game. Please give me more of these things.
Yeah. It's wanting more and knowing that you can't get any more. I mean, like, they've already announced that there's not going to be any DLC for RE3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can I just keep telling you please, and then maybe you'll change your mind? Come on, please,
Right.
please,
I'll be your friend.
please,
Oh, I'm figuring. Well,
please,
okay.
sir. May I have some more?
If I may be a bit of a doomsayer, this is Capcom. We have a new console on the way. What do you figure there's going to be an enhanced edition in another year or two?
Well,
I don't think they care enough about
yeah,
it.
I mean, like, I will be honest.
Talk about downer.
RE3, no matter the version, it was never Capcom's idea for the franchise. There's a big story about that. We're not going to go into it here, but yeah, I always got the feeling Capcom always treated RE3 like the redheaded stepchild.
And why the hell do they keep fucking remaking it in so many
It's-
other games, though?
It's always the stopgap between another bigger Resident Evil. It is originally it's like the holdover until we
Yeah.
get Code Veronica and 4, and now it's the
Alright.
holdover until we
Yeah.
get 8.
I mean, like,
Okay. That's
So it's
fair.
the
That's
small
fair.
it's the small little game that they say like here's this thing to occupy your time. But now since it's also packaged with Resistance, they go, now you've got something else to occupy your time until Village comes out.
And I mean, like, to be honest as well, I think Capcom didn't expect Nemesis to be one of the most popular games.
No, they didn't.
No, they did not. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the short version of the story is that it was a side project that was being done essentially as was like a Gaiden practically, and then when Code Veronica decided to be its own thing and not numbered, they essentially took the opportunity to move that. There was just some rearranging.
Yeah.
And so that's what ended up happening, which is interesting because that ended up inadvertently creating, as we've talked about, the raccoon, the Arkley Mountain trilogy.
Yeah.
We will probably do a history episode of the game's development at some stage, but kind of not the point to have it here.
It's an idea for later.
Yeah.
So now everybody knows. There you
Right.
go.
I'll do that.
Okay, so then I guess that's it for the critiquing segment. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to the cool shit and all the stuff we really liked about it. Okay, so we're now moving on to the positive stuff and all the things that we thought were really super cool about Remake 3. And don't get us wrong, there's still a lot of really good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what was each of one of your favorite things about it?
Oh God, choosing a number one favorite thing is really tough. The two main things is I love the character stuff and dramatically how it works. Like the characters feel exactly like they were before, but they're these really revamped, enhanced versions of them. That's number one. The other is I love the smoothness of the gameplay. It feels so fun to play.
Yeah.
How about you, Paul?
I love the redesign of some of the creatures.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
In particular, like the hunters, both kinds.
Yes. Yes.
Because I mean, like, I would admit the first time I saw the hunter was a Gamma.
The
actually
one
thought
in the
that was-
sewer?
Yeah, I thought that was Gravedigger.
Yep. We all did.
So I mean, like, the fact that that's actually a hunter, huge surprise.
Yep. With little chicken feet,
It's a twist.
little wings.
Nevins.
Other thing I liked. That's actually kind of a hard one, so I might just leave it there for a few minutes. 'Cause
Okay.
there's actually
I mean,
just so much I enjoyed about the game.
well, then we'll weave it into it naturally as we talk about all the stuff that we liked.
Or I might just suddenly
Yeah.
blurt it out. We'll see.
Whatever works.
Yeah. How about yourself, Vanessa?
For me, it's definitely the characters. I always thought that the original RE3 storyline was because of the choose your own adventure style choices stuff. Occasionally, it got a little confusing. There's like a bit of a separation, and the characters would take like weirdly different tracks on things. And this was a really good opportunity that, I mean, I know a lot of people missed the live selection, but having a nice, tighter narrative where you get actual personality and arcs for the characters. And then you get upgraded stuff with Tyrell. Tyrell gets to have more than one scene, and he's really cool,
Yeah.
and I love him. And Carlos
he-
and Jill's friendship, like developing like over the course of the game, is just, it's really well done.
He's not flirting with her like he was in the original. He's just like,
Yeah, no, he's flirting with her in a better way.
Yeah, exactly.
it's not like, I'm a Latino lover. It's just kind of like, hey, here's somebody who is my equal. She's a badass.
I love how he has the shine to her like right out the gate, but like every time she does something cool, it's not like, oh yeah, obviously because you're the greatest. It's more of like, whoa, like he keeps getting impressed with her with each succeeding, thing that she does and reports in like, oh yeah, I did this. Oh yeah, I did this.
I fell off the top of a burning building. I'm okay.
Yeah,
Like-
don't worry about it. I killed it.
like she resets the subway, and he's like, Jill, you are amazing. Tough as nails, too.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
I already love you.
And oh man, I was replaying today the hospital segment and the moment when he finally, talking about the characters, about the consistency. I love that Carlos, you get to see him complete his arc and have the revelation of accepting he was working for the bad guys, that Umbrella was
Yeah.
behind it. And I love that his take isn't that like, oh no, I was betrayed, or that anger. It's he thinks of Jill and he says she knew the whole time and she trusted me anyway. And like it was like feelings. All
Yep.
of a sudden,
It's like, oh no, she still worked with me. Oh my god.
But I mean, like, he's in a shitstorm with her. I mean, she's not going to throw away any potential help she can get.
sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he finds out and he understands completely why she could have easily just said, you know, screw all of you UBCS guys, I'm going off on my own to save people. And then
With
that would have
blackjack
been
and
it.
hookers,
Yeah.
I mean, truly it wouldn't have worked out, but he then realizes, yeah, it would have made complete sense for her to do that.
Yep.
one thing that I kind of did enjoy that they kind of removed from this game is in the original there were times where you would hear somebody scream.
Yeah,
turn a corner.
yeah.
And there was somebody you could have saved if you were a little bit faster. That's just kicking Jill while she's down. I'm kind of glad they removed that from this game.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
were mentioning how the last episode you mentioned the original was very much the story of failure, and by removing that, that really tones that feeling down.
I wish we'd gotten at least one, or like gotten to go back to see Dario, because I think
Yeah.
that would have
I would have liked that.
been helpful.
But really, you already had survivors. You had the people that the UBCS guys rescued and who were in the train carriage. So that's already something removed that would have been superfluous to needs.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's at the very least, I think, because it's interesting. I mean, not to get back into the disappointments, but I do remember one big disappointment is we never got to see Nemesis just absolutely wreck that train car. It's just like, snap and it's done.
On the plus side, though, we did get Mikhail go get off my train shit bird.
That's a great
Yes.
moment. I fucking love
Yes.
that moment.
And I love that. I think Air Force. I'm gonna double check. I believe. God damn it! I gotta look this up. 1990. I think it was 98 or 99. Fuck. 97. Okay, good. Mikhail could have seen Air Force One at some point in 97, 98, and been actually quoting the Harrison Ford starring Wolfgang Peterson Die Hard ripoff, Air Force One, as it kills Nemesis or tries to kill Nemesis with a C4 bomb.
Entirely possible.
Entirely possible. That makes me so happy.
It's such a good moment. I also love Nikolai, like backing away as soon as he sees Nemesis. It's like whoop 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 whoop. It is so delightful every time. I'm like, oh, Nikolai, you total shit.
Yeah, but I do love the fact that while Nikolai and Jill are having their little conversation, like, open the door, you fucking bastard, Mikhail's just picked up the C4 bomb, and he's just
he
staring
knows
down
what's
Nemesis.
necessary.
Yep.
He knows what he has to do. Yeah, I mean, the stuff you get with Mikhail and like all of the UBCS that you do meet is really great. I mean, except for poor Murphy immediately getting shot. Poor guy.
This was not like an army that went down easily. They went down fighting all of them, well, except Murphy.
Right. Well, I mean, Murphy went down fighting. It's just that he was, because, he was injured. His death was instantaneous and not going out fighting. But, I mean, he still
Yeah.
fought. I mean,
His death
did.
was kind of pathetic.
Poor guy.
yeah. Poor guy. Yeah. Poor Murph.
But I mean, like,
Especially,
in a game where they made everybody even more of a badass, Mikhail just
Yep.
like broke the meter.
Just broke the knob right off. Like, there it goes.
then
I mean,
flung it, into the sun.
I love Nikolai. He's such an amazing asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just kind of moving on there. I mean, I know it's not a popular opinion. I love the redesign of Nemesis' second form.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
do as
I
well.
have no problems with it.
It just looks so monstrous. Mm-hmm. Compared to, like, oh, Nemesis in his second form. Why, he lost his shirt.
He
Right.
did. He lost his shirt. Oh no! Look at those abs.
Oh no! It's like you're gonna be you'll quiver in terror and squeal with delight.
My abs.
Well, he could be more like vomit in disgust, because I think the original idea for Nemesis was that you could actually see the parasite writhing under his skin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if you play the kind of more enhanced versions or on emulation, you can actually see it a lot clearer.
I mean, you can still
Yeah,
see
so
that in the remake. You know that thing that you shoot out like during
Oh
that
God.
segment? That's the
Yep.
parasite.
That
That
is the
like little
parasite.
that little bit is hanging out like and gets revealed every time he falls to the ground, and it's the
it's like he's got
parasite.
a it's like he's got a hernia.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I was thinking he's got Kuato, but
His
but that's
hiatus hernia.
speaking of Nemesis, one of the things I loved in how they showed his mutation in this, and this is why I love the idea of the second, third, the form evolution in this. The more you fight and destroy his body, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Like I love
Yeah.
like when she is getting struck by him and clawed by him and even like and smacked around in all these cutscenes, but never gets infected. It's not until his arm is torn off in the clock tower gate that finally this little tendril comes out and goes tink and puts a little
Yeah.
little spiny in her.
I mean, that was a parasite itself. I mean, like anything Nemesis is doing, that's just the tyrant part of him beating up on her. It's the parasite part that infects her.
Right, right. The thing actually, by the way, this I have this note because I was thinking about this regarding the body adaptation and growing back worse. Is like I almost wonder if like this is definitely something I think from a budgetary constraint probably would have been difficult for them to manage. But like, what if that was like a risk reward aspect of this? Is that every time you defeat Nemesis or get him into that stun state with the grenades, he gets harder, a little harder. It's like a little faster. His damage is a little bit more to the point that there's a risk reward. You're going to get goodies for it. You're going to get amazing goodies for it. But you are going to have to deal with him either more frequently or you're going to have to deal with a much harder opponent. Except for, say, like the more scripted boss sequences.
Huh. That would have been interesting.
I think that would have added. Yeah, it would have been interesting, but I think it would have been kind of I hate to say this, a bit of a needless complication.
And that's, I think, one reason why I wasn't approached. But yeah, that was a thought.
Because I think the last time you saw something like that was with the Java 1.6.
Ugh, cripes. Yeah.
Because I mean,
Fair
like,
point.
if you went for a lot of headshots,
Yeah.
you were getting more of a chance that, they'd get armored heads or
Wings.
something would happen.
Yeah.
Or shooting their arms. It's like, all right, my arm just turned into a fucking riot shield. Oh, great.
It's like, oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you're kind of getting you're right in that there's a risk reward there, but it's a complication that you might not actually need.
Yeah, it depends. It would the game overall, especially its scenario, would need to be paced out a little better, I think, to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
kinda
compensate.
I think the whole point of the
right.
the whole point of the game is that it's meant to be very fast paced. You're being chased,
I mean,
Right.
so it's
I legitimately love that he transforms because she has knocked so much of his suit off and his limiter. So now the parasite is kind of like taking over way
yeah,
more.
I mean, like, I think it's always been kind of canon that something like the G virus can have regenerative properties, but it feeds off the body to do that. So the body is cannibalizing itself, and it's kind of a cascade effect that you're repairing damage, you're causing more damage, you're repairing that, causing more, repairing that, and it goes on and on and on. And it just goes out of control. It's basically a cancer.
It's a goopy, cancerous callus.
Yeah.
Also, he kind of looks like a really giant liquor.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's an interesting thing as well, because I mean, like, he's faceless as well.
Yeah. He loses his eyeballs.
Yep.
Boy ain't got no eyeballs.
It's not like he had many to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, his eyeballs weren't like super great to begin with, but I mean, I do like that. I do like that he starts out like fully like hefty man garbage sack, and like as the whole
With
game
a face
progresses.
for radio.
As the game progresses, like Carlos knocks off the mask, so then you see his face, and then as you keep fighting him, more and more of the coat is dropping away, and as that keeps dropping away, that is giving the parasite more room to take over and make him a real big boy. Also, that whole segment has my favorite line in all of Resident Evil now. Bitch can't even swim.
That's so good.
You just
Favorite line.
You're just kind of there thinking like, I wonder did Jill just mentally make a note of like, I fucked it up, didn't I? I've jinxed myself.
Why did I say it? Yeah, as soon as he shows up, she's like, why did I say that? He's like one of those dinosaurs, those little sponge dinosaurs that you put in water and then it get real big.
Right.
He's gonna spill stinky water all over me.
Oh no. The thing also, did you notice that in the mutation, because he was transforming underwater, he's got fins, so it's like he seems to adapt to his environment.
He's ready for the beach. He actually can swim.
He's got a
now.
beach bod now.
I was about, damn
Take
it,
that,
I was
Jill.
going to say that. Okay, so do we want to cover the final form of Nemesis now, or do we want to get a little later into this? Because I know we're
Might as well cover it now.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a half and half for me because I love a lot of parts of it, but if you couple it with the higher difficulties, then fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, like, on a more normal difficulty, it's like, this is awesome. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's the parasite's gone out of control. On higher
Yeah.
difficulties, it's, this fucking giant snot ball.
This gameplay has gotten out of control.
Yeah.
Yes, the game. Yeah, so yeah, it was 6 dodges, right? Because I think Paul, you watched me do it the first time on Inferno, with
Oh god, yeah, I remember that. And the amount of swear, I mean, I admit I swear, but the amount of swearing coming from you.
yeah, and like it didn't like for the last like 20 minutes, I just took the headset off because I couldn't concentrate, if I recall.
Well, I think it was more the fact that you were just like effing and blinding the entire time.
No, I was. I mean, admittedly, it was pretty early in the day, so I was kind of like, I'm too tired for this shit. But yeah, no, I was, yeah, because oh god, it was like 30 or 40 minutes to do that on Inferno with the write-in, because
I think it took you about 20 tries.
yeah, it was around there. I think it was like 24 or 27 tries. But yeah, it's a. So for those who haven't done Inferno in Nightmare mode yet, is that because his moveset is bigger when he attacks you, so he has more moves he can do, and then he does this continuous attack. And this is, by the way, you get hit twice, you're dead. That's it. You can take one hit from full health, and that is it. And you have to at least dodge 4 or 5 hits. You can sometimes get a grace period on the 6. But
He strikes up to 8 or 9 times in a row, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically,
There's a
in
few.
Nightmare and Inferno, you have to have perfect dodge in a game that it does not exist.
You get a little bit of assistance with the combat manual, which I think I had, because I think
You
at that
do,
point
yeah.
the only thing I had not unlocked was the rocket launcher. So I think that was the only thing. 'Cause that's the reason I did it. If I already had the rocket launcher, A, it would have been a lot easier, and B, it would have.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
It wasn't?
It wasn't.
Oh,
It wasn't.
oh boy.
Rocket
Okay.
launcher and the manual, and you can fill yourself up with all of those items. It still mainly just requires you to be lucky and to have his pattern down pat.
Yeah.
Perfect dodge in.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
you have to be perfect, and you have to be lucky that he doesn't do like the spewing acid move, because
Oh, yeah.
sometimes that can
Slows you
just
down.
it'll just stop you long enough that he can smack you. So yeah, no, the rocket launcher does not fix your problems.
Ugh.
Yeah, so
At
I mean,
all.
like, I would just sum up Final Form Nemesis as a mixed bag.
Yeah, like visually, I love his design.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
the design's
using
amazing.
I love using the finger. I just played it on standard yesterday without like any infinite weapons, and it was a fun time.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, and I love that she gets to carry the railgun and
Yeah.
stick it in his mouth and blast him. It's fucking awesome.
So cool.
And people keep saying it's like, oh, this game doesn't have any gore in it. Like, fuck off, dude.
Well-
I mean, it does not in the main, zombie blood, sure, but that she liquefies that fucking thing.
She's covered.
on.
She's
She
covered in
basically
blood.
kills him with a sea of blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's blood everywhere. You see, they couldn't do it for the zombies because I think like graphical limitations. So they saved it all
Yeah.
up for Nemesis getting like exploded,
Yep.
saving it all for him.
Which, okay, so that moves to the next thing. Oh my god, this game is pretty. This game is so
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, real pretty. I do love like the look of all of it. Like the main street and like all of the signs and like Moon's Donuts.
Yeah.
I mean, also like when you play on higher difficulties, there's like a Homer zombie standing up there trying to like bang on the donut.
Is there? I've missed that.
Yeah, it's delightful. I love him.
I still love the fact that Samantha from Bewitched has now become a mascot for a cleaning product or something, or milk or something.
I think it's it's for beer. I think it's
yeah.
the beer.
Yeah, that's right. It's the beer. That's right. It's the beer ad.
It's literally Elizabeth Montgomery from Bewitched.
Yeah, I love it. It's
And-
delightful.
Speaking of the advertisements, I love that there's all this raccoon everything. So like it's like the new space modifier from that Mystery Science Theater skit.
Yeah.
And the frontier / space thing. So it's like you're gonna go down Raccoon Street to go into the Raccoon Mart to get your raccoon milk to go with your raccoon cereal.
Don't forget to buy some raccoon crackers.
Okay, but how do I get to Raccoon Park? There's no such place, you freak.
You have to take a left on Raccoon Avenue and then head straight down to Raccoon Boulevard.
Okay, and what if I get to Raccoon Parade? You've gone too far.
Way too far. You
gone
got to
too far.
turn back.
Yeah,
Gotta
you're
turn
gonna have to
around.
turn back and you have to take the raccoon line of the raccoon's the train system, and then on the raccoon train, you have to make sure you get the raccoon train on the raccoon train line to take you down the raccoon train rail system to the raccoon.
Ironically, there are no living raccoons
Raccoon.
in Raccoon City.
Not a single one.
Except for the Ghost Survivors one that's the hat.
It's not alive though, is it?
No, the tail moves.
Are you sure that's not just the wind or head movement?
No, dude, it's I've used that
It's a-
hat a ton. I know that thing is alive. It even
Okay.
cocks its head a little
That's a
bit.
zombie then.
No, it's
That
my best.
poor-
It's my friend. I
poor
used
raccoon.
it when I beat Cortini's segment.
Poor raccoon. The one living raccoon.
They really do have the
I
hardest.
mean,
time.
I love all of the posters for the
Yeah.
films.
Yes, the movie poster
Oh,
was so
the
good.
So
smoke-
good.
I love the movie posters, and I love the fact that they made two films back to back.
Yeah.
That reeks of Italian film industry to me. Italian genre exploitation movies.
It's funny. It's funny as hell.
I do have to say, one of my favorite bits is just one of the most what the actual fuck moments in the game, and it's when you're heading back to the subway station for the last time. And Nemesis fires the rocket launcher at the Toyman head.
Oh my god.
Yes, and I love they telegraph that. I love how they telegraph that.
I was like,
Oh.
wait. That head is gonna come rolling at me, isn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
oh my god.
You know it's coming, but it's just the fact that it actually happens, and you're just kind of like,
Are you
oh,
kidding
great,
me?
so I'm gonna die.
Right.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That thing has been responsible for more of my deaths on higher difficulties than almost anything else.
I've figured out a trick that works for me and my body memory. But that said, I mean, you're not the only person I've heard say that part on the higher difficulties is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I will be the first to admit that I think Chris, you were there at the time. When that happened, I just started humming the Indiana Jones theme.
Yep, you did. Yep, I was there for that.
Makes sense.
Oh, that's so good. By the way, speaking of background stuff, did anybody catch the radio broadcast in the pharmacy where the DJ is like, "Whoa, they've broken through the barricades"? Did anybody catch that?
I usually just catch the part where he's talking about another song.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
actually,
no, he-
yeah. Really?
Yeah, no, he totally.
shit.
Yeah, there's a whole. Oh God, I'm gonna have to. I'll. Okay, we're in the middle of recording. I'll see if I can track it down and find it for you guys after this. But yeah, it reminded me of the end of Zombie 3, Lucio Fulci's Zombie 3, which has the DJ gets zombified at some point in the movie. I can't remember if it's at the end or if it's towards the middle.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'll
that's just
replay
making
the
me think
beginning
of,
of it and go listen. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's so
It
it's
just
so
kind of
early
makes
on.
me think now of the film Pontypool.
Which I still need to see. I love Stephen McHattie, but I haven't gotten around to that one yet.
I mean, for like a Resident Evil reference, it actually makes me think of Operation Raccoon City.
Ooh. Oh
Be-
God! Why did you have to
Vanessa.
say?
Because-
I still haven't
Vanessa,
finished
you
the
poor
campaign.
thing. Poor
because
thing, Vanessa.
because the U.S. government team, one of their first levels is in a radio station.
Yeah.
The Rescuing Three Dog.
Yeah, like it didn't work out well. Also, counter another kind of Resident Evil reference. Hunk's Fourth Survivor segment in Umbrella Chronicles has like that guy on the radio station just slowly losing his mind during the entire thing.
I forgot. Oh wow!
It's-
I've not
it's
played that
really-
in so long.
Yeah, like that actually is my favorite part of that entire segment with Hunk, because it is really unsettling how like the guy just gets more and more panicked and then freaks the fuck out
But I
over the
love
radio.
That.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
really
that in
good.
games.
Yeah.
So like that kind of reminds me of that. So now I have to definitely go in and listen, because I think that always adds a really cool texture to it. Also, all of like the extra little incidental dialogue you can get is really, really cool.
It
Like,
is.
like
yeah.
there's some stuff you can get with Tyrell in the RPD if you go all the way back to the main hall after, you know, like you've gotten, I think like once you clear out like the West office and you've like, you know, before the first liquor has shown up outside of the evidence room. So it's like once you're able to just turn around and go back, you can like go all the way back there, and he's like, "What, you chickening out already?"
Oh my God! I need to do that.
I
That's
love
gonna be
Carlos
evil with.
in that section, though.
Oh yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the fact that he just throws so much shade on some of the key mechanics of the franchise. And it's just like, you go up to one of the doors with the specific key, and he goes, "What kind of fucking door is this?
I love it.
This is a weird ass
Yeah.
door."
Well, that's a weird fucking door. And then like looks at
Yep.
like that, like don't come inside. And he's like, okay, I won't then. And I'm like, oh my God, Carlos for most like reasonable protagonist. Or like, hey buddy, this is Wes. If you're reading this, I'm dead. Please don't open that locker. And he's like, okay then, I will not.
Yep.
I love the fact, though, that he takes a note. So that if you go back
Yes,
to RE2, you open the door of the locker.
Because you didn't know. You didn't because the
know.
note was gone. I love that.
I actually do love how that really gave the RPD a little bit more personal context.
Yeah. Oh, certainly.
Like that does enhance Resident Evil 2.
And we can't.
Also, like fucking Brad.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Before we jump to Brad, I just have one quick thing about Carlos making comments and stuff. When he looks at Leon's welcome sign,
I love that line. I love it.
and him saying it's like, bet you had a hell of a first day.
He's like, yeah,
tomorrow."
yeah, it was pretty kick-ass, right? And I just hear Leon going, no.
It's just, I love the fact, though, that our headcanon for Leon is just now like this little kid. And he's just going around with a microphone going, "It's my first day. It's my first day."
It's my first day.
he's come on. He's a precious bucket puppy. He deserves that headcanon.
Because he's precious. I love him.
But every time we do that, I just think of that line from The Simpsons where Homer becomes the captain of a song.
Yeah, every
Oh my
time.
God.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was when I was replaying RE2 earlier today. I kept making that joke. Like, but it's my first day. Wah, 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 wah. Every time, it just that is what I think of, and it is delightful.
But I do like the fact that, despite the fact that Outbreak did explain how Marvin got infected, I do like how they've canonized it now
Yeah,
and cleared up that mystery.
or at least like remake canonized it.
Yep. I love the directing of that scene. I love.
It's really good.
Also, fuck you, Brad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A double, triple, quadruple. Fuck you, Brad.
I love how completely in character it is for him.
It is.
That even as a zombie, he's apologizing while he's doing something that wrecks everybody's lives
Yeah.
up.
It is. Yeah. And it's so sad on multiple fronts to me. Like, because this is one of those cool moments of him actually. Because this is one of the only times we've ever heard the zombies in Resident Evil vocalize, like an actual word. It's very, very rare that it's ever happened. And
But
Yeah.
there is actually a theory that well, not a theory, but a discussion is Brad actually saying sorry, or is he just mimicking what he's hearing?
And that's even the thing is like that's
Yeah.
the sad the interesting sad ambiguity is like is he aware enough to say sorry, and if so is that a fate worse than death that he can't stop his compulsions, or
Yeah.
or is it mimicry as we're saying, like, you know, I mean, it's like it's the bub thing, you know.
Yeah. And people have talked about how supposedly they can hear the zombies in RE2 saying stuff. I've never actually made anything out, but some people have argued that they can like hear certain zombies like saying like "kill me," and I'm like, well, that's sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a common phenomenon, but it's usually something that happens more with a song. So it's not so much a Mont Green, where you hear the wrong lyrics to a song. It's more like you're hearing something within the noise, and your brain's trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it also does kind of remind me of the guy on the boat in Revelations 1. That guy depresses me every time. The one who's like saying like "Mayday, Mayday."
Oh God, yeah,
Ooh, yeah, that's right.
It's very creepy and very effective. Like one of like the best things about that game is that.
yeah.
Yep.
And
Hands
like,
down.
you're just kind of like he's not going to be alive, and then he turns out to be one of the the first creature you encounter of that particular type. I forget,
Yeah.
skag draws or something like that.
Something like, yeah, Skagdaws, Skag something. I don't know. I don't remember the names of those monsters in that game very well.
I don't remember much of that. I still don't remember how it ended. I still need to replay it. I've like the last.
Disco Tyrant. Disco.
Jessica found the other pant leg.
Oh wow, what a
She
twist!
did not. She did not, and you know it.
I wanted to see how long he'd go.
The back to the RPD thing. So couple things. First of all, I thought it was interesting just as a sort of dramatic thing, you know, sort of like a synchronicity. When you get into the RPD and you get the message from Bard, it gets received on Jill's computer in the office, which I thought
Yep.
was interesting.
Yep.
I figure all the Stars members probably got it pinged, and that was the only one that got picked up on, but I did like that as a touch. And as well,
Yeah.
I noticed this today. You could see the good boy. You could see the picture of the good boy on her desk.
The good boy. I love the good boy. I
Which kind
also
of begs the question: what happened to the dog?
I'm getting the impression that it was a childhood dog that she still loves. Mm-hmm. Because she has that same photo also in her apartment.
And it's the same photo, not a different photo of the same dog.
Yeah, and there's no evidence of a dog actually living in her apartment at this time. So I'm guessing precious family pup.
Yep. It's kind of like the good luck pup.
My good luck pup.
Yeah. Speaking of the apartment, this is one thing I really loved, and I really got to actually notice a cool detail about this when I replayed it for prep for today's episode. I love the dream scene, but I did want to mention about the apartment. I love how her bedroom is split into like two sides. So you have like one side that's very much like it's got a TV, it's got her fashion posters, magazine stuff, it's got her books. I mean, like the one clue about her job is the little car. But I love the compartmentalization that then when you turn to the other wall, I didn't notice it until I played it yesterday and noticed that I did this by accident. I turn around and there's the Pepe Sylvia wall. And
Yeah.
and there's that. I like that kind of interesting split because it's a way of showing. It felt like it fleshed out Jill more as a person, and it made her really endearing to me. But the thing I wanted to say about the dream scene, I mean, first of all, I just thought that was a really. We've never seen a traditional style Resident Evil game open that way, where it's a first person perspective and to open with a nightmare scene, like a nightmare fake out. Super
Yeah.
common in horror movies, but I don't think Resident Evil's ever done it like that. Interesting thing, I can't believe I didn't notice this. You guys may have noticed as well. Hospital segment, dream scene number 2. The clue it's a dream is because it's from a first person perspective.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I thought that was very cool. Also, I think her like that side of her apartment, she also has like her little RE1 beret on the shelf.
Yes, that's right, she does.
And I think a badge maybe?
Possibly.
Or like a framed badge. I thought
Yeah.
that was also like really cool. And like also like going back to like how RE2 did environmental storytelling really well, this is one of the places that does environmental storytelling again really well. Like you see how messed up Jill's apartment is, you see like all of the pills on her table, you see the boxes, you see like her clothes getting put away, and you see like how badly she's eating, and everything
Oh,
is
yeah.
everything's a
like
mess.
the kitchen is filthy.
God.
Not even like from takeout food. It's just
Yeah.
it looks grimy. It's like she's given up.
Yeah. If she's given up, or she's at the very least, she knows that there's a cycle and pattern, that the pattern of her life does not involve daily care of the household. There's the routine no longer includes that. Because she even says there's 3 more days and she's leaving. So
Yeah, and like I think one of the early files indicates that she feels like she is very close to losing it.
yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, like she's being watched constantly. That's paranoia.
right.
Or unless she actually is being watched, which I would not be surprised considering
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
how
definitely.
corrupt the RPD is and Umbrella.
I mean,
Exactly.
even Brad knew enough to sneak the note to her in a pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
Even Brad.
Speaking of, one of my favorite things in the first act of this game, and it's one of those like I want this to be something that comes up in Resident Evil at some point. Like not necessarily did I want it in this game. The incubation period, the concern that what if the STARS members have the virus, and that it's a long incubation period, and that they're going to turn at any time. Now, mind you, the file is implied that it probably was written at some point in like August, so she's
Yeah.
past the point of probably being concerned about
Yeah,
that.
kind of a week or two.
Right. And then there's the report that you find later in the RPD as well. But I love that because it also reminds me of one of the things that they sort of took from Resident Evil 7, where it used to be that the monsters are going to get you, and the nightmare, that incubation period note, and even just just other aspects of this say the virus is going to get you. And that's an interesting difference, that it's not necessarily that you may survive the encounter with the monster, but the virus is going to get you afterward. And it makes
Yeah.
like every bit of damage you incur feel a little more palpably creepy because of it.
Yeah, and I mean that is definitely something that Jill in particular is worried about, because she is more capable than the average bear. So she can survive a monster attack, but if she gets infected, what happens? And I actually think that is one of like the main themes of the game, and I think that works really well.
Yeah. I mean, like, you see this as well with Brad. Now, for all that the fandom might disparage him, Brad is still a trained police officer. Cowardly, yes, but when he gets infected, he immediately kind of goes into police mode. Because he has no idea how long he's going to have before he turns. We could be talking seconds, we could be talking minutes or hours, and he's already telling Jill to get away.
Yep.
Yeah, he's trying to do like the one good thing. He's
Yep.
saying like, if I can do anything, then it's going to be giving you the best chance of surviving.
And then he goes and fucks that up for Marvin.
Unfortunately, then he found his way back to the RPD.
Right. And then bites Marvin, and it's like, all right, fuck you, Brad. You're going down.
Damn it, Brad. Although, I mean, that said, I absolutely love that on Nightmare and Inferno, he shows up again.
Yes.
I really love that.
Where?
I love that so much. Oh, and the evidence room.
All right.
The evidence locker.
Also the hallway, the west hallway. He's walking outside, and you see him walk by.
Oh my God, I did not catch that.
Yeah, he walks by. It's like a very quick thing. You don't see him all the way down, but like he makes that appearance. You see him shuffling by, and I'm like, holy shit, Brad. And then he comes back in the evidence room, and it is so cool.
That is satisfying. I love it.
Yep, love it. I also love the file underneath, talking about like the woman who is like working for Umbrella, feeding them information about how things are going at the RPD, and like how things are falling apart, and like saying like, look, I need extraction. Get me extraction. Get me extraction, or I'm gonna tell everybody about how you're colluding with fucking everyone.
Yeah, and they still leave her behind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it didn't work out for her. It
Nope.
didn't.
So the other thing,
Ugh.
actually, I'm glad actually this comes up because I was also passing by. We were talking about the files, and actually, off camera, I guess I should say. Vanessa, you and I were speaking about how it's interesting. There's a lot more files to like give you that deep, dive into some of these characters.
Yeah.
The love letter with a question mark at the end, which I
Oh my
love that
God.
detail.
Ugh.
I love
Yeah.
that. It's hysterical.
Oh.
God, Carlisle is like, I want to write fanfic about that guy.
He loves his hunt the gammas. He
Oh
loves
god,
them.
that guy.
He loves them so much.
Yeah.
I also love the idea that like they were down in the sewers almost like free range chickens for like a couple months. You had monsters in your sewer for a
Yeah.
long ass time. And they also got to the point where they recognized the scientists and they were not like they were distinguishing friend from foe.
They were like puppies.
Right.
But I mean, like, that's endemic of a far greater problem as well. Because, like,
Yeah.
it's one thing to say, oh, there's an alligator in the sewer. Well, there actually is. It's about to become giant. But I mean, like,
Which there is, yeah.
you can write that off as like, oh, it's just a drunk. What happens when people start to go missing in the sewers?
Yep.
More people go missing. I mean, I love that note by that guy who said like his friend went missing in the sewers. And I mean, obviously seems like he was eaten by a gamma. So then he goes like, I went to my bosses. They said, no, he obviously just fucked off. And he goes, no, my buddy wouldn't fuck off right when his wife was about to give birth to their child.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, but he fucked off. And then he's like, I go to the police, and the police are like, no, he just fucked off. I know that this monster, took him. I'm gonna get them. And no, he didn't get them. He just left his sad journal there as he died.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
He's
sad.
gonna get them with his stick.
Oh, good job, buddy. But like I love that because that adds a lot of connection that is otherwise missing.
But I mean, like,
Like you don't always feel like you have a really strong connection to like the narrative flow, but like the notes really help.
yeah, I mean, the notes are a highlight for the game.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even if the outbreak hadn't happened, you kind of have to wonder how bad it would have gotten if the hunters were left to be.
Oh, God.
Oof.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which that's the thing I guess I love about this, the way that this game creates this amazing like powder keg situation. We don't even know where the fucking drain Deimos came from in this time around.
Right?
We never really had an answer to that anyway. And now it's like they have a fucking nest and a big like egg sack on the power station. I mean,
That went up overnight, literally.
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that is, I mean, A, that's terrifying that they were able to replicate so goddamn fast, and then two is that, I mean, yeah, it sort of shows that. I wonder how much of this was a case, like how much of the government's decision to just bomb the city was not just about, oh, there's a cure. It's also like, yeah, we're getting like satellite and reconnaissance photos, and shit's fucked, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Super hard.
I mean, like, this is an entire situation that was already going to get out of control, and then the zombie virus happened.
Yeah.
So I think we've kind of discussed enough about what we liked, so maybe just going to wrap up with characters. I mean, the game did not add that many new characters.
Yeah, actually, we'll just end with talking about Bard because I think he's like the only character we really haven't actually covered.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've sprinkled in stuff about how cool Jill is and how great Carlos is, and Nikolai being awesome, and Mikhail being awesome, and Tyrell is awesome. So
just quickly
we-
saying, I have one quick thought.
Sorry.
Tyrell,
Okay.
Wingman of the Year, 1998 edition. That's it. Good.
there you go. So we can talk about Bard because he is like the one legitimately new character
Yeah.
who's very important to the narrative.
And probably, besides Carlos, is probably Jill's biggest ally, without them either of them knowing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like unintentionally one of the most helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like, just for some context, Nathaniel Bard was the head doctor at the clinic where where Carlos takes Jill after she's infected. He's also a head Umbrella researcher, and he's probably one of the biggest dicks in Raccoon City.
100%.
this is the guy who parties with Brian Irons, and if you know what he's like, I don't need to say
Ew.
much more.
Yeah, that's all you
Ew.
need to say about him. Man parties with Brian Irons. It's like, oh, you know exactly what kind of terrible shit this guy is.
But he's also...
And
Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say Irons and Michael Warren, which
Yeah.
But I think, like, for all his faults, and believe me, the man is not a saint. He's got a place reserved in hell.
I hope so.
Bard is actually a saint compared to some of the other Umbrella researchers. Obviously, for selfish reasons, when everything started going to hell, Bard had his researchers start development of the vaccine for mass production, and probably had them set up the railgun in case they needed to use it against any BOWs.
Yeah, I'm curious why that thing was down there. That's a pretty high tech
I-
weapon research.
Yeah, but I mean,
I
like,
gotta look. I gotta look at that again.
well, I think he's the one who kind of gave the okay for the development of the weapon, because you find a note in the lab where he discusses Umbrella Europe using parasites, and he actually he very politely calls them idiots for working with parasites because of how difficult that is to maintain and control, and he would rather work with
Yeah.
viruses.
It's a sick burn on Los Plagas. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
Yeah, which I appreciate that very much.
So I mean, like,
sick burn.
I mean, this was compared to other Umbrella researchers, this man is a saint. I mean, by normal human standards, the man is scum.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's not a megalomaniac like you get with, I mean, honestly, William Birkin and like Wesker and Alexia, but he's like a very believable asshole.
Yeah. There's a tape recording that you use to unlock his office where on the tape he actually is quite abusive to one of the nurses until he finds out she might have seen some of the research Umbrella was doing, and straight away kind of tries to figure out what she's seen, because he knows if Umbrella catch wind of this, she's going to disappear.
You know, and I guess if he has a thing for brunettes, he's probably trying to keep the brunettes
Don't
on
go
the
there.
on
Don't
the,
go there.
on the step. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Probably first and foremost, he is a doctor. You find him in the hospital. So I think, like, as much of a bastard he is, like I said, he is a saint compared to some of the other researchers.
He gets the not as bad as you could have been award. Little
I mean,
tiny
like-
badge. Bing. Not as much of a terrible monster as
Yeah.
as you could have been. You still suck, but you suck less.
He's probably the only Umbrella researcher where they get a check in the positive column.
Yeah, you know, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. I mean, it's because
Bing.
even Annette, as much as she tries, doesn't earn any of the checks in the positive column, because most of the positive things she tries to do end up usually screwing up.
I'll give her actually coming through for Sherry after Claire, like, berates her into it.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
God damn it, you're right.
she had to be berated into it.
Yeah, she did.
That's true. Yeah.
So I mean, like, Bird, like I said, absolute scum. Decent researcher.
Yeah, super interesting character. Like,
Yeah.
I think his addition is really necessary, and I do love how it makes the vaccine an actual, like, centrally important aspect of the plot, as opposed to just the thing that Carlos had to do when he went to the hospital.
I mean, if
It's very incidental in the original.
I think
Right.
if I had to,
It's like
sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it feels like he is a great fill to a gap in the segment in that segment of the original's plot. Like,
Yeah.
it's like we had like this hole of like, well, why is there suddenly a vaccine? And here, they actually have this setup in the second act that then pays off.
Yeah.
It's good. I think it works.
Yeah,
I
real
think
good.
if I have to sum up Bard, he is a man who realizes he's going to die, and in his last hours, he's realized he's got a chance to look over what he's done with his life, and he doesn't like it. he can't redeem himself, but maybe he can do some good for someone else.
Yeah. I mean, like he said, he just wanted to restore one tiny shred
Yeah, of human
Right.
decency.
of honor to himself.
Right.
That was the last thing that he was trying to do. So, 1 point for you, sir. Bing.
I mean, I would have taken self-emasculation as well, but, well, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. But that's a,
So,
but it's
yeah.
good. Yeah, these are all good points, though. I mean, Bard is interesting to me also because the dynamic of I guess I should say the roles of the characters in the remake, as well as even in the original, they feel different from the archetypes we've seen in the other games. And I felt like Bard was kind of cool that he didn't necessarily, as you're pointing out, he's a different type of researcher. Like, yes, it's another Umbrella guy, but it's also his. There's a little, if there's a drop of white in the black to make things a little gray, just a little.
He's still focused on different things than the other
Right.
Yeah, I think
researchers
it's kind
are.
of the doctor comes to the fore rather than the researcher.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The doctor thing, yeah, because that was just such an interesting change that the hospital entirely was moved to being a umbrella facility rather than being a hospital that was researching the virus, trying to seek a cure for this disease that had spread through the city.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting change and kind of a drastic change. And Bard is being a more having those elements that there's a little chaos in his evil, that makes him a little less predictable. I guess, or I should say this, his morality is a little less predictable. I don't know exactly how to put this because we're talking about this like this bit of a stretch.
Cartoonishly evil.
Yeah, I guess there's nuance.
He remembers the first line of the Hippocratic Oath: "First, do no harm."
Yeah. Which, I mean, he
Still did a lot.
he still ain't doing so great with that overall, but
But yeah.
but
At least tried a thing at the end.
exactly, and Paul, exactly. I think I see what you're saying with it. Is that's the it's like it's as if like you got to think of like, did he remember that in like reflecting on his life? He's gonna die and realizing, I fucked up. Like the number one thing I was supposed to not do, I did.
Whoops.
But I think like everything about Bard kind of suggests he wasn't developing bioweapons. He just saw the potential in the viruses. I mean, like if you see some of the stuff he writes, it's don't use parasites, they're unpredictable. Use viruses, you can control them. They're developing a parasite weapon. We need something to counter that. So
he does have his definite focuses.
yeah. Unlike a lot of other Umbrella researchers where it's like, yeah, I'm going to attach this bunny's body to the head of a bee.
And profit.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, like, he is the sanest Umbrella researcher.
Yeah.
Putting a bunny
Yeah,
and a
I'll-
bee together.
I'll give him that.
Just, I'm so sorry. Just the bunny and the bee just made me think, oh, that's how they make Pokemon.
Yeah.
Well, you'd end up with a bunny bee.
There you go. Bunny bee.
Yeah.
Chris, you're quietly hating me, aren't you?
No.
Just thinking about the bunny bee.
I am. I'm thinking about like mixing a score bun and a bee drill. I'm just thinking of combining those two.
Yeah. So I
Hot
think
drill.
I think that will wrap things up for us for this episode of the podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at a statement pod. That's a statement with an E. Or if you have any questions or topics you would like us to cover in a future episode, you can email us at spencerastatement@gmail.com. So there you go.
That'd be really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
And we don't have a set topic for the next episode, right?
No, we do not currently.
Okay.
It's wide open.
Yeah, we should. I was kind of thinking we should leave it a surprise.
So next topic, it'll be about something Resident Evil related.
Yeah, I'm just thinking there, Resident Evil and surprise. Two things that when they go together don't really produce something nice.
We'll combo break that.
Yeah. I was just about to ask future me to put the Killer Instinct combo breaker sound in. I shouldn't do that.
No.
Anyway,
So I have been Castle Rook.
I have been Chris Jabberwock.
And I've been Vanessa Sketch. Thank you, and have a great day.
Peace out.
Stars. One of us had to do it.
Go away, Nemesis.
Hey, come on. One of us had to do it. One of us had to do it.